We are in a post-AI world. We are moving beyond the phase one of centralization to the phase two of decentralization. And that transition is going to be very challenging because the people in phase one have so much power.
How do we transition from that scenario to one where every single person has a piece of the pie?
The doomsday scenario that a lot of people are talking about may be a distraction. And we may be, the next decade, maybe the next 20 years, are going to be these really glorious years if we can change the direction in which we are developing AI.
That if is so important because there are many actors, many people right now with their fingers in this AI pie. What does that if look like to you? How do we change course or make sure that AI is going to benefit society, benefit humanity?
Julian, I don't know if you're the fan of Adam Smith and the invisible hand, but at the dawn of industrial revolution and mechanization of industry, the risk was the craft will go away. There is no reason for artists to create, and labor to create something new because everything would be mechanized, done at 1/100th the cost, and everybody will become effectively the slaves to these machines. Over time, fortunately, we figured out formulas, if you believe in, again, Adam Smith's invisible hand, where we were able to create shared prosperity and the labor in those industries were able to rise up and create a system where you have sufficiently large middle class, as opposed to the separation of super rich and only the slaves. And the path we are on right now is unfortunately a similar path, which is a rapid separation between people who have AI and people who are going to be purely consumers of AI. And the power is going to concentrate very quickly. But the if there is, if we have a way to actually democratize how people not just consume the AI, but become the creators of AI, then we have a way to actually solve this challenge of polarization in society and bring back the invisible hand 2.0 with AI.
Because right now you have ChatGPT and these large language models, and what we're doing is we're giving more and more data to these models that are owned by, let's say 5 companies, controlled by literally a handful of men and maybe 1 or 2 women. How do we transition from that scenario to one where every single person has a piece of the pie?
Exactly. So I think moving from consumers to owners of our own AI is critical. As you know, probably for many years, people are talking about, I need to have complete control over my data, complete control over my privacy. But that's in the past. Those things are important. I think what's more important is that I need to have access to my own AI. Whatever you create, whatever your data is, whatever the micro AI you're generating yourself is what you own, and that becomes kind of your digital representative. And your own representative, your own agent, the Julian agent, the Ramesh agent, is going to represent us, in society, at our work, in our social circles, and so on. And that representative of ours, we need to have complete control over it. And are we going to let 1 or 2 companies decide what the Julian agent will look like, what the Ramesh agent is going to look like? Or you and I will have the ability to craft that agent, because that agent is a pathway to our economic freedom, our ability to participate in democratic world, our ability to have relationship with everybody around us, and so on. So our social life, our educational life, our health life, and our employment is all going to be tied to this agent. And I think that's the path we need to move to very, very carefully. That doesn't mean what has happened so far in AI is bad. The phase 1 had to be highly centralized, where we learn about how to create great AI and how do we build the best models and so on. And that required billions of dollars, really talented people sitting together, a lot of energy and so on. But we're kind of in a post-AI world. And I'm saying that phrase very carefully. We are in a post-AI world where we are moving beyond the phase 1 of centralization to the phase 2 of decentralization. And that transition is going to be very challenging because the people in phase one have so much power. It's like the kings and the queens. It took some time from the kingdoms, even if they're benevolent, to give up their benevolent, leadership and let the democracy thrive. I think the same thing, the phase one to phase two transition is not going to be easy, but that's the only way to bring some democratization, some decentralization, some diffusion of the benefits of technology and shared prosperity. Back in the 80s, even if you had to do a calculation, even if you had to do like a document editing, there's nothing on your own machine. Everything was running on the mainframe, highly centralized. And then, Bill and Steve and other people had other ideas, right? At Apple and Microsoft and so on. They're like, actually, how about a computer on every desk? And that changed everything. Once I have Microsoft Word, a calculator on a machine, why would I bother connecting to a central computer? And a similar transition needs to happen now. Right now, we have these dumb machines at home called the browser. Our machine doesn't get used at all. And through the browser, we write a command. It goes to some central machine. They spend a lot of energy, a lot of compute, and send the information back to us. So that sounds kind of weird. But what's going to happen, it's already happening, is that the compute moves to the edge, which means that your laptops, your phones, your cars, your microwaves, your MRI machine, has all the talent, all the intelligence it needs locally. So the AIs are running locally. And once it's on your PC, once it's on your laptop, you will be actually very excited to craft a better and better AI. You might download something that's sufficiently good. Maybe it's like, let's say you're a legal professional or you're an accountant. You might download a piece of AI software that like 70-80% of what an accounting software should do, an accounting AI should do. But then for the remaining 20-30%, you're going to use your own knowledge, your own expertise to make it amazing and amazing and amazing, right? So that's what happened from the mainframes to PCs in the 80s. And same thing is happening now. Right now, we have this mental model that, AI means these big companies, and we just connect to them through a dumb browser. This has happened in every industry. Anything that's centralized, over time get decentralized because there's just so much entropy. There's so much innovation, and innovation always moves at the edge. By definition, the smartest people are outside your company because there's just so many more people out there. So the talent, the innovation, the grit, the perseverance, the local knowledge, the local wisdom, the local interactions are all out there in the society. And so the AI is going to move. Like Julian, the best model in the world doesn't know what you had for breakfast today. It doesn't know that you and I are sitting here and doing something amazing. So the wisdom you have is not captured in any central system. So there is an iceberg, the hidden part of the iceberg that is not trapped. And even if you think about the world technology, world GDP, the world GDP is about $100 trillion, out of which only about 5 trillion or less is in IT. So the remaining $95 trillion happens in the real world. Ports and mines and restaurants and all these things are well outside the purview of the $5 trillion.